Welcome back to yet another episode of the Sports Nerds. It's been a while, but we figured we'd hop on and kind of chat some of the free agency moves and trades that have happened over the last few weeks. Uh, as always, I'm joined with Braden Bank. And Braden, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Like you said, it's been a while. I'm happy to be back in the swing of things a little bit. We're still kind of in that dead period as far as the NFL goes, where most of the insane free agency stuff has already happened. We're still about a month out from the draft. We're kind of just watching college basketball, hoping for time to pass to get back to the NFL. But outside of that, yeah, I'm just hanging out like I always do.
Yeah, we've certainly had a couple moves. We've had more than a couple of important moves over the last few weeks. I think as we're recording, I think free agency opened up 2 weeks ago. If my math is, I think
That
2 weeks ago.
sounds right. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
like officially
yeah.
opened up.
uh, 2 weeks ago, as we're recording today on a Wednesday. But yeah, a lot of stuff has happened. A lot of players have signed huge deals. A lot of players have re-signed with teams. A lot of players are on the move to different teams. But yeah, we're just kind of get we'll go down the list and kind of give our initial thoughts and reactions to some of these signings that have taken place. This one hits a little close to home for Braden, but guard Aaron Banks is on the move to the Green Bay Packers for 4 years, $77 million. Braden, you're a Niners fan. You watch more Niners football than anyone on the podcast. What are your thoughts on this move with him going to Green Bay?
Listen, Aaron Banks is a decent starting guard. Aaron Banks is not worth 4 years, $77 million.
No.
And that kind of seems like the theme of this free agency is offensive linemen getting significantly more money than they probably should be.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he was good. He started he started next to Trent Williams for the two or 3 years he started,
Makes your
which
job
we
a little
saw.
easier.
Yeah, we saw what happened with the last guy that was starting next to Trent Williams, looked really good, and then left. Uh, whatever Lakin Thomas is doing right now, shout out. But
Shout
yeah,
out.
Trent Williams, your job is made a lot easier when you're working next to the arguably the best left tackle of all time.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that contract. I don't love it if I'm the Packers, but I guess you got to protect Jordan Love.
Yeah, it's certainly a pricey move for the Packers, and I agree with you that when I saw this first come across my feed, I didn't really think he was worthy of 4 years, 77 million. What's that? Mm, just over
18
19
million
million a
maybe.
year.
I think it's right
That's
over 19.
that's a lot of money to be giving to a guy like you said that was standing next to Trent Williams for so many years, and who knows if a lot of his success was due to Trent.
That's like Joe
But
Tooney money.
yeah, and Joe
That's not
Tooney's
like
are
maybe top 20 money.
that's like Joe Tooney's the best left guard in all of football. Like, let's be real. Speaking of Joe Tooney, I think we recorded after that trade, but in case we didn't, yeah, Tooney's on the move to the Bears as a Chiefs fan. That is a brutal loss, but yeah, he got traded to the Bears for I believe a fourth round pick, kind of just revamping that Bears O line. Bears made a couple other offensive line moves. They signed center Drew Dahlman from the Falcons, I believe, 3 years, 42 million, and then they made another trade for Jonah Jackson, the guard from the Rams. What are your thoughts on the Bears making these offensive line moves?
I mean, how long have we been saying, at least for a year now, that the Bears need their offensive line like really bad, and they went out and bought themselves one of the best offensive lines of football. So
Right.
they, I, I've been saying for a while now, trenches. Trenches are how you win football games,
Yep.
and Ben Johnson knows that very well, coming from the Lions.
Yep.
So it does not surprise me to see them making all these moves, and I'm glad they're doing them.
Yeah, and if you're gonna make moves to beef up the O line, now is the time to do it with Caleb still on his rookie deal. So Bears certainly got a lot better on the offensive line. Some of the other moves that were made in free agency that we'll kind of touch on. Former Steelers quarterback Justin Fields is going to be the starting quarterback, or presumably the starting quarterback of the New York Jets come this fall. Justin signed a 2 year, $40 million deal with an annual salary of $20 million per year. Braden, what are your thoughts on Fields going to the Jets?
I mean, I don't hate it. It's better than anyone else they could have gotten at this point. But I mean, yeah, we've kind of seen where Justin Fields is at this point. He's a really high upside guy, I guess. But at what point do we have to just put down the what point do we have to put down the hypothetical situations, guys?
Right.
Can we just say Justin Fields is he's what Lamar Jackson haters think Lamar Jackson is.
Right.
That's really all I can say about him. I liked him coming out of the draft in 2021. I wanted the Niners to take him, but he's not developed the ability to throw the football very well.
No.
And you kind of need that to be a quarterback.
Another note with his deal, he gets $30 million fully guaranteed. So this deal, there's not really an out for the Jets. He's going to be their quarterback, or at least on roster for 2 years. But yeah, Justin Fields heading to the Jets. In other moves, the Patriots are big spenders in free agency thus far. First signing Milton Williams, the D tackle for the Eagles, to 4 years, $104 million with $63 million in total guarantees. Braden, what are your thoughts on Milton Williams to the Patriots?
I think the original report was he was going to sign with the Panthers.
Yep.
I liked that move a lot more than I think I like him going to the Patriots. I still like him going to the Patriots, but the frisky Panthers, you gotta love.
Always love the Panthers.
But yeah, I mean, he's a solid player. He kind of just had his breakout at a contract year, which you see that a lot with players going into free agency. They realize, oh wait, if I play like really good, I can make a lot of money.
Right.
So he played good and got money. And there definitely is a suck tax when you're a bad team like the Patriots were last year. And not to say Milton Williams isn't necessarily worth the contract he got, compared to some of the other deals that were paid out, it's about on par with some of those. We're gonna get to some of. I'm sure we're gonna get to probably the more egregious ones later.
Yeah,
but it's not bad. He's got talent. I think he's gonna help that defense out a lot. But I feel like there are better things you can do with that money.
Yeah, and since we're talking Pats, we'll just keep it on the Pats for the next few deals. They also signed cornerback Carlton Davis from. Was he on the Lions last year, or was he on
the Lions? The fact that we have to ask the question tells you really all you need to know.
Yeah, I think he was either on the Lions or the Bucks. I'm going to say Lions, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But yeah, he signs a deal with the Patriots. Kind of a pricey one. 3 years, $54 million with about $34.5 million in total guarantees. Again, the Patriots spending more money. Braden, any thoughts on this move?
I mean, quarterback depth is always nice, but are we counting this as cornerback depth if you're paying what $12-14 million a year on that?
18, isn't it? It's 18 million. 3 divided by 50.
Yeah, that is.
I think it's 18.
Okay. I'm not here for the math, folks. I'm here to talk about the players, and he's a good player, but you already have Christian Gonzalez. It's not like you're paying a quarterback one here.
Right. I don't hate the move. It just feels like you said, a gross overpay. It's the bad tax that some of these worse teams have to pay to get some of these premium free agents. But yeah, he's on his move to the Patriots. And again, this is the last Patriots move we'll talk about for a second. But this one happened earlier this week, so we're more refreshed and have an idea of what to talk about. But the Patriots signed wide receiver Stephon Diggs from the Houston Texans, 3 years, $69 million. I think $26 million guaranteed, if I'm not mistaken. Braden, what are your thoughts on this move?
I mean, again, the Patriots kind of just needed as many good players as possible. And Stephon Diggs, I mean, he's coming off of a torn ACL, so you never know how that recovery is going to go. But we know Stephon Diggs is a good football player. So he's going to be their wide receiver one pretty easily. Drake May has been out there fighting for his life trying to get any sort of help. And this is about as good as he could have done to get him help right now. So, yeah, of the moves we've talked about so far, I do think this is probably my favorite one.
Yeah, a good move for the Patriots. We'll stick to the wide receivers in free agency. Devontae Adams ends up getting cut from the Jets. I think we talked about that on our last episode. He ends up signing with the Rams, 2 years, $44 million, $26 million in guaranteed. What are your thoughts on this move, pairing up with Puka Nacua?
Yeah, that's gonna be a great pairing, and I'm mad about it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah, him and Puka. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Devontae got the number 17 back from
Hmm.
Puka, and Puka switching to number 12, I
Yeah,
think,
Puka
which
went
it
to
might,
12.
yeah. So, kind of a cool story there. But yeah, that's so far with the moves thus far. That's my favorite move is Adams going to the Rams because they needed to have that Cooper Cup replacement. And speaking of Cup, he ends up signing with the Seahawks in division signing. I don't have the details for the signing pulled up right in front of me, but I think it's a few years.
I think it was
But yeah,
I want to say like 3 years, 45.
yeah,
I might be way under money wise, but I know it was a 3 year deal.
yeah. But what are your thoughts on this move?
Uh, this man hates the 49ers. I tell you what.
Yeah,
I gotta respect it, but yeah, going back home, he went to college, and I think he was an Eastern Washington guy, but yeah,
he was.
they they the Seahawks have been having a very interesting free agency
Oh
where
yeah,
they've had a lot, pretty much a mass exodus of all of their like good players, and then replaced them with younger, slightly worse players. So I don't know. I don't really know what the plan is. Are we just gonna go 9-8 again, or I don't really know. It feels like the NFC West is about as open as it's been in about the better half of a decade at this point.
right.
So this feels like the time to strike while the iron's hot. And I don't know if that's what they're trying to do or if they're trying to like retool. I don't know. I
I
really don't
will
know.
say the pairing of Cup and JSN might have the coolest nickname in all of wide receiver duos. I don't know if you saw it. Their nickname is Blackjack. I think that's kind of cool. Cup's number 10, JSN's number 11. I think that's pretty cool.
All right, that's pretty cool.
That's
All right.
so I don't know. I kind of hated the move, but then when I saw that, I'm like, you know what? I kind of like Cup in Seattle. I kind of like that. But other moves that happened, this wasn't necessarily a signing with another team, but it's a huge signing that kind of kickstarted a few more signings afterwards. I'm talking about the Myles Garrett extension with the Browns. I think Garrett got nearly 40 million or 40 million per year, which is the highest for a non-quarterback. What are your thoughts on this move?
Money talks, don't it?
Yeah,
Uh, how it was the whole conversation for the whole like week or so, where he just wants to go and win, and then he got that money, and all is well.
yeah. He got that money. Someone else got their money, and that is a trade that happened. We just talked about Seattle needing or signing Cooper Cup. The reason for they signed Cooper Cup is they traded their wide receiver one in DK Metcalf. I don't think we talked about this move in the last episode because I think it happened after. So we'll talk about it now. Metcalf heading to the Steelers for I believe a second round pick, and um, DK also gets a new contract with it. What are your thoughts on DK going to Pittsburgh?
Yeah. How many penalties are the Steelers going to average per game next year? The
It's
the line is at about 7.5, at least, and I think I'm hammering that over.
oh
Gambling
yeah, for
responsibly.
sure, for sure.
But yeah. Again, another really talented receiver. They needed receiver, so it's a good pickup. Do we know who's throwing them the football? No, but
Nope, I don't think they
whoever's
do.
throwing them the ball is going to have some pretty big targets to hit
I
if they
mean,
can
yeah,
catch it.
yeah. You talked about not knowing who's going to throw them the ball. The big rumor right now, or big story, is Aaron Rodgers potentially going to the Steelers. It kind of just seems like that's the only team interested because at this point the Giants just signed Russell Wilson and they signed Jameis Winston, so they're kind of out on any more veteran quarterbacks. It kind of feels like Rodgers to the Steelers is kind of a lock at this point. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, of any team that has a real chance at getting him, that feels like the only team that makes sense at this point. He might just take his ball and go home at this point.
That
You have
or
Cam Hayward going on the Pat McAfee shows or whatever,
Mhm.
ESPN, whatever it was,
Yeah,
saying like, "Look, if you want to come to the team, cool, but I'm not going to go head over heels trying to recruit you."
Right.
And that's kind of the guy Aaron Rodgers is. He needs
He needs that.
everybody at his beck and call begging for him to bless them with his greatness.
He
And
needs the attention.
he's not good anymore. He's
No.
just not good.
If this was Rodgers like 3 or 4 years ago, I could get why the Steelers are waiting this long for a decision from him. But at this point, I don't know why you don't just sign a veteran in free agency other than Rodgers and then draft someone. Whether it's you go trade up for a guy like Shador if he's available, is it Jackson Dart potentially, or do you just kick the tire down the road and try to go for the next year quarterback class, which I think is consensus is way better than this class because next year you'll potentially have Arch Manning, you have Drew Aller from Penn State. I know there's another name I'm missing that's a pretty big one. But you have some pretty big names that are being that next quarterback class. So maybe if you're the Steelers, you just don't take one this year or don't sign Rodgers. It just kind of feels like they sign him. They're going 10-11 and they're 10-7. Wow. And they're going to lose in the first round of the playoffs. That just, I don't know if you feel the same, but that's just kind of how I feel.
I mean, that's kind of their fate either way, right? That's
Yeah.
just how the Steelers are. I
mean,
I think right now their only QB on roster is Mason Rudolph.
Shout out Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, I think if any team knows how bad Mason Rudolph is, it's going to be the Steelers at this point.
Yeah.
But, I mean, who knows? Maybe they say, screw it. He started a couple games in Tennessee when Will Levis was being the greatest meme of all time. And
oh, man.
I guess the Titans have the number 1 pick now. So that shows how that ended up for them. But, yeah, the Steelers have enough talent on that roster. They're not going to be in number 1 pick contention.
No.
And Mike Tomlin is their coach, and he refuses to go under 500.
Right.
So
that team went.
They're going 9-8.
That team went they had a 500 record with Duck Hodges as their quarterback. If you remember Duck Hodges.
How could I forget Devlin Duck Hodges?
I mean, me and you are NFL diehards, so we remember that name, but like probably the average NFL fan, it's in one ear out the other.
Season was not real.
No, that was the year prior. The
year prior? Oh,
the 2020 season. Remember they started like 11-0. Juju was doing the TikTok dances on the 50.
Oh yeah, because they had fans, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was Duck Hodges in 2019. I still think they won like 8 games. They may have missed the playoffs.
He was slinging it though, man.
He was slinging it. Duck Hodges, dude. I didn't think that we'd be talking Duck Hodges on this pod, but hey, we're talking Duck Hodges.
You never know what you're gonna get with the sports nerds.
You don't.
One minute you're talking about Stephon Diggs, the next minute you're talking about some guy you haven't heard his name in about 4 years.
Right. Some of the other news that I think we really need to touch on before we kind of preview some of our mock drafts that we did. The Bengals were able to retain their 2 biggest stars in signing Jamar Chase and signing T. Higgins. Braden, what are your thoughts on these moves?
I mean, those 2 are the only reason why Joe Burrow hasn't just retired yet.
Right.
So I guess I don't hate it for that reason, but on the other hand, you're going to have about $50 million to make your defense for the next 4 years. The Bengals are going to be must-watch football for the next 4 years because you're going to get a final score of 55-54 every time. They are going to score a lot of points and give up equally as much.
Right. And now all their attention really moves to the last star that they would like to re-sign in Trey Hendrickson, who has made it public that he will hold out if he doesn't get a deal. There's a trade market for him. Like he's a desirable player. I think he led the league in sacks one year. Maybe this year it was. But a great player.
He's been up there.
Yeah, I know ever since he signed from the Saints to the Bengals, he's been top 5 in sacks every single year. So if you're the Bengals, being able to retain him. But on the flip side of all these signings, they have a lot of money tied up into only a few players. They have 55-ish million going to Burrow. I think it's 40-ish million going to Chase. Another 30-ish million going to Higgins. And then whatever you sign Hendrickson for, it's like, are you going to be able to roll out a complete roster with that? We already know the defensive struggles they had last year. And they're only getting more expensive next year. Like, I don't know. I think Bengals fans are glad they got all their guys back, or most of them. But if I was the GM of the Bengals, I probably would have just said goodbye to T. Higgins. Or, I know people don't want to talk about it, Jamar Chase. What would his value be on the open market?
Every pick.
Because you think about what
Every
Tyreek
pick
got.
available, you're getting for Jamar Chase.
So Tyreek was able to get a first, a second, 2 fourths, and a sixth. I think Jamar's getting at least 2 first rounders and a second.
Yeah, because that's an older, disgruntled Tyreek Hill
Yeah.
that got that trade. And he said, I want to go to Miami.
Yeah.
And he still got, first, second, fourth, sixth, you said? But,
first, second, 2 fourths, and a sixth. Yeah, you got 5 total picks. But
yeah, he's getting, you would get the farm for him, but you would also be the dumbest organization alive to let that man walk.
Yeah, you can't do it if you're the Bengals because he's way too good of a player and he's way too young to do that. But at the same time, I think moving off of one of those guys probably would have been beneficial because then you would have more resources on defense. But regardless, can't go back in the past and change things. They were able to get the deals done with both of those guys, so good for them. Kind of another blockbuster trade happened while during our absence. Laramie Tunsil. This trade came out of the blue. Like, no one saw this one coming. Laramie Tunsil gets traded from the Houston Texans to the Washington Commanders. Commanders are striking. They're going for the fences. They aren't satisfied with their NFC title loss. They made some moves this offseason that they're going all in. What are your thoughts on this move?
Yeah, there are two distinct sides to this trade. There are the Commanders that just got away with highway robbery in broad daylight. Laramie Tunsil is, I think, the best, either best or second best in like sack rate allowed by like a wide margin. Yeah, you'll have the holdings and the offsides or whatever, but like he's still one of, if not the best tackle in football right now. You cannot trade him. If you cannot trade him, and not only that, trade him for a second round pick, a future second round pick. Yeah. What are you doing, Houston? What are you doing? You just watched CJ Stroud have such a big regression. That's not because he forgot how to play football. He was getting killed out there, man. You had him looking like David Carr.
Yeah.
What are we doing, Houston?
Houston.
Are we trying to play competitive football or not? You traded for Christian Kirk to try to fill your Tank Dell role because he's probably going to be out for the year.
Yeah.
There was a thing for a while. He might just say, I'm done because he's so hurt. But, yeah, what are we doing, Houston? But anyways, enough destroying Houston right now. Washington, fantastic job. You need to protect your quarterback, and by God, you've done it.
Yeah.
Great work. Fives across the board.
Yeah, like you said, there's two flip sides to this trade. I'll start with the Texans side because that's kind of the bad side of this trade. The Texans gave up 8 sacks in their playoff game against the Chiefs, and that was with Laramie Tunsil. He's going to get sacked 15 times in a playoff game if they do that again. At least. Like, from that aspect, it's confusing. The aspect of they haven't even extended CJ, so they don't have to worry about paying their quarterback for a while. That made no sense to me. I guess you could say Tunsil's past 30, so he's only going to go down. But then the flip side, there's Trent Williams that exists, who's 36, 35, and is still playing excellent ball. So it's just so frustrating because, like you said, we saw CJ Stroud regression from his rookie year to his second year. Maybe that's just sophomore slump. Or maybe what I think you were saying, the offensive line was terrible. And it certainly didn't get better in the offseason. I know they made a couple other signings, like Cam Robinson, who was traded mid-season from Jags to Vikings and was still giving up sacks. But Texans, you have to address the offensive line in the draft. Like, there's no way around it. From the Commanders side...
I believe the Texans also got rid of Kenyon Green.
Yep, they traded him.
Might kind of just be addition by subtraction because he was very not good.
Where
But
he went
still,
to the
again,
Eagles, right?
yeah. Which Stoutland, coach of offensive linemen,
Yeah, he's gonna turn these
killing it.
NFL draft busts into something awesome. Like Mekhi Becton going to the Chargers. Mekhi's probably gonna regress back to his Jets days, but you sign with the Eagles as an offensive lineman. I don't want to say your career gets revived, but
It sure
you
helps.
it certainly does help. From the Commander side of the Tunsil trade, it's a home run. It's an A+ move. Jaden's on a rookie deal. You still have at minimum 4 more seasons of him being cheap. So having a guy like Tunsil, who's basically like a stone wall over on the left side, you don't have to ever worry. You don't have to have slide protection out there. You can kind of just leave him on an island, and he's going to block well. I think that's an A+ move for the Commanders. But yeah, Texans, what are we doing? Trading arguably your best player? I know CJ's really good, but wouldn't you agree that Tunsil's probably their best overall player?
Yeah, at least top two.
Him or like Daniil Hunter or Nico Collins?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Head scratching, to say the least. But yeah, those are kind of some of the bigger free agency moves. Do you have any others that we didn't really hit on?
Um,
Oh, I just remembered one.
the only other one I could think of was the Titans giving ungodly amounts of money to Dan Moore.
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
Dan Moore. Dan Moore. You paid him, what was it, 4 years, $82 million?
Well, let me pull up that deal.
Dan Moore.
More.
Dan Moore was bad. Actually,
Yeah.
just bad at the sport.
4 years, 82 million.
Insane that I remember that like 3 weeks later.
Yeah,
It's
42
just
million
that
fully
insane
guaranteed.
of a contract.
There is one more move that we need to touch on, but yeah, the Dan Moore move was
Ugh.
awful.
That's the one I was talking about when I was like, okay, Aaron Banks is bad, but at least they didn't pay him Dan Moore money.
Right. The last move that I really want to talk about before we move on, or if we talk about something else, Sam Darnold getting his.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about Seattle earlier, and I don't know why I didn't think of it at the time, but I'm gonna pull up his full contract details so I don't remember it, or so I can say it correctly. I think it's 3 years,
Was it
100
just
mil.
3 years, 100? I think it was just flat 3 years, 100.
What are your thoughts on Darnold going to Seattle? I know you're a Niners fan, so you're gonna play him twice next year, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he's basically just younger Gino is going to be making more money.
I don't even know if he's young. I would rather have Gino.
He had that 1 year. He had 1 year last year. He was pretty good. And then the last 2 games of the year, the biggest 2 games of the year, he absolutely you could see the brown running down his pants.
Can I
It
say
was-
something
it
if I'm
was
Sam Darnold? I would love to know the number that Minnesota was offering him. It would be really hard for me if I'm Sam to go to an entirely new system, a new place, new receivers, than what you had in Minnesota, where you have an offensive coach, you have Justin Jefferson, you have Hawkinson, you have Aaron Jones. If the numbers were comparable, like Minnesota was offering like $20 million a year, I don't know why you wouldn't sign just another 1 year, $20 million deal and just bolster your market for the next year. It just kind of seems like he set himself up for failure in Seattle, if that makes sense. Do you get what I'm saying? That
I get it, absolutely. And look at that offensive line.
like it's
I-
very head scratching.
Listen, I don't make NFL quarterback money. I'd be willing to sacrifice a good $5 million to not have to play behind that. I'd go back to a system I'm already familiar with.
I
When
would
you're 25.
love to throw to the best receiver in all of football. I'd love to play for Kevin O'Connell.
And Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson,
Yeah.
Aaron Jones.
Like,
They might go grab another.
and that team is
another guy, maybe.
that team is contending. Like,
Yeah.
we called them fraud. Like, I didn't think they were that like good last year, but regardless, they won 14 games. Like, you don't do that by accident. Like, that roster is really good. So to go from Minnesota to Seattle, where Seattle might win like 7 games? Is that even
I
I don't know.
mean, this might just be the fact that he's not on the Seahawks anymore, but Geno Smith was a good quarterback,
He was.
and they barely made it to the playoffs by the skin of their teeth. Sam Darnold is I would say a downgrade at quarterback.
I think Geno Smith is a B minus quarterback. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, no,
Sam Darnold is a C quarterback. Like
Yeah,
still passing, but he's on that fringe C minus where it's like you have your Sam Darnold moments where it's like you have flashbacks to the Jets and you just look like a terrible quarterback. AKA the last 2 games as when he was on the Vikings, where he just turns into pumpkin Sam Darnold all over again. I don't know why we're talking Sam Darnold for so long, but yeah, those were kind of some of the moves that happened over the last few weeks. Now we're going to present our mock draft 2.0, with the draft being just over a month away. Braden's going to share his mock draft first. Braden, you want to kind of explain some of your picks?
yeah. I think more than explaining the picks, I need to explain the trades
Yeah, that
because
too, because I was shocked. But
yeah.
let's hear it.
So with the Saints, there have been two front offices that have been very heavily interested in Miami's pro day, and more specifically Cam Ward that I've heard of. It is the Titans and it is the Saints. The Saints, from what I've heard, pretty much their whole front office was at that Miami pro day. So if they have an offer to the Titans, are the Titans so committed to Cam Ward that they're not willing to at least listen to it? In this universe, I say they listen. I think there's a shot that the Saints trade from 9-1. They go get their quarterback of the future because it's certainly not going to be Derek Carr.
Nope.
And the roster isn't fantastic, but it is better than Tennessee. I I don't hate that fit. I think it could work pretty well. This one, I think it did it come out today? I'm not either yesterday or today that the Browns have been working very hard to try to trade for one Dak Prescott. There are very few ways you could make that work money wise. The only way I could think of is to try to make if you can offload Deshaun Watson's contract. And the only way you can offload a Deshaun Watson contract is by giving up the number 2 pick as well. As well as probably going to be a lot more than that. But at the least, you're going to have to give up that second pick in the draft. And I think with that pick, the Cowboys have to replace quarterback because I don't know who the other quarterbacks are on roster, if they have any. And the options are running rather limited right now. So if in a world where the Browns can get Dak Prescott, they're going to need a quarterback, and Shedeur Sanders is the best player available at that position. Number 3, the Giants. They've been making some moves, getting some quarterbacks. I don't think this eliminates them from the quarterback talk in the first round. I think if Shedeur Sanders, or it's not going to be Cam Ward, but if Shedeur Sanders doesn't go number 2, I do think it's possible that that Shedeur Sanders goes number 3 to the Giants. But in this scenario, obviously that isn't an option. Travis Hunter kind of just BPA. You can argue Abdul Carter as well, but Travis Hunter fills 2 big needs for the Giants and is also just a box office guy. Would work pretty well in that New York market. Number 4, again, kind of best player available. You can never have enough in the trenches, as I've been saying for how long now. Abdul Carter is very good. I don't think that injury stuff ended up being anything anymore. I think I've heard a couple of analysts try to say Abdul Carter is not going to be like a top 10 guy. I think that is lunacy. Abdul Carter, if you watched Abdul Carter in the playoffs,
He's nuts.
he is a dog, and he's going to go at least top 5. I think number 4 is a good spot for him. Number 5, the Jags. I've kind of had them going Mason Graham for a while. I'm going to keep doing that because they need defensive tackle, and Mason Graham is good at defensive tackle. Number 6, again, a guy that I feel like I've been mocking there for a while. We're going to keep going Ashton Genty. to the Raiders. Actually, if this is only 2.0, probably a lot of our past mocks haven't been released, and I'm pretty sure the last one I did
No,
not go Ashton Jetty.
no. I think
Okay.
last one you had Genty going 10 to the Bears. If I'm not mistaken.
If that's the one that even got released, I honestly don't know anymore.
It is.
We've had a lot of these episodes kind of just not
vanish.
make it up in time.
Yeah.
So peeking behind the curtains here. A lot of these mock drafts that haven't been getting released, I've been having Ashton Genty go to the Raiders because I think that's a really good fit for them. They really need running back. You cannot, under any circumstances, go out with Sincere McCormick and
Amir Abdullah
in the Lord's year of 2025. Not saying that they couldn't go a different position here and go with maybe a Travion Henderson or any of the other really good running backs.
Amari Hampton.
Second round, third round, yeah. But Genty is leaps and bounds better than any other running back on the board. And if you're going to draft a running back in the top 10, Ashton Genty is the running back to draft in the top 10. Number 7, again, has been a player that I've had mocked to the Jets for a while. Tyler Warren is just a playmaker. Again, another guy, if you watched Penn State, he pretty much was that offense at times. And I don't even know who the Jets tight end is. But again, tight end is another one of those like weird positions where you don't really see them drafted super high all that often. You look at a guy like Brock Bowers last year coming out, where he ended up falling to 15. You could make an argument he was the best player in that draft. Just not looking at positions, just looking at actual just player. But because he's a tight end, he's not going to go very high. I think teams might either A, learn their lesson from last year, or B, this is not as strong as of a draft on the high side. Towards the top, this is not a super strong draft. So I think a guy like Tyler Warren's going to benefit from that tremendously this year. Number 8, this pick a lot of the time has been, there's a lot of like uber athletic edge rushers in this draft. You look at guys like Jalen Walker, Michael Williams, Shamar Stewart. Those have kind of been my trio to the Panthers. And I'm going to pick from that again, Shamar Stewart, an absolute freak of nature off the edge. I believe, was he 270 at the combine or was he like 250 something? I'm not sure.
Not sure.
Absolutely balled out at the combine. Raised his stock even more than it already had been in the past year. Production was not super great this season, but you look at the traits, and I think that's going to translate pretty well. And the Panthers need defense tremendously.
They do.
Number 9, the Titans. I have not had this is the first time I've had the Titans going any lower than number 1, so I really wasn't entirely sure what to do here. But Jalen Walker can kind of be another one of these fill two holes situations where you can have him be an off-ball linebacker for the first couple downs, and then on the third down, you can have him rush off the edge. He's been really productive doing that the last couple of years. You can kind of, God, my words are not coming out well right now. He's kind of like a Trayvon Walker coming out of the draft, where he can kind of do both. He can kind of be off-ball, he can be an edge rusher, and he's going to be a freak either way. And the Titans, if your team's bad enough to get the number 1 overall pick, you need talent, and Jalen Walker has talent.
Yeah.
And number 10, I have Will Campbell going to the Bears. They've been making a lot of moves on that offensive line. I like the moves, but how sure are we that A, Braxton Jones is your answer long-term at left tackle, and B, if he is your answer, Joe Toney's like 34.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Who's to say he's not going to retire in a couple years? And Will Campbell, I think, can be an all-pro level guard pretty much almost right away. Maybe give him a couple years to learn that system. I think he's going to be a really good... If he sticks at tackle, I think he'll be all right there. I think his position more likely is going to be guard at the NFL level, and I think he's going to be really good at it.
Yeah, I really like your mock. When you were talking, I kind of looked up, because you mentioned you have the Saints trading from, is it 9 to number 1?
Yeah.
So the last time that happened, funny enough, was Bears and Carolina, if we all remember that trade. That was only 2 years ago. But that package looked like the Bears get pick 9, a second rounder that year, a first rounder next year, and a second rounder the year after, as well as DJ Moore. So you wonder what that package would be for the number 1 pick this year. Granted,
That was also for a lot more hyped up prospect and
that
Bryce
was.
Young than we have Cam Ward.
So I think you could do that same deal without giving up that like high fly receiver like they did in DJ Moore. But I think the package, like with picks wise, is very similar to what you could get. But no, I really like your mock. I am intrigued with Genty to Boise State, and I like your Shedeur to Dallas. If Cleveland really does go and trade for Dak Prescott, which at this point is just a rumor, but could happen, I think that would be a fit. And then you're looking at if Brian Schottenheimer doesn't work out at head coach, Coach Prime, here's a blank check. Come coach the Cowboys. Yeah. So I really like your mock. Mock brings mock draft 2.0 on March 26th. Here is my mock draft. We have very similar picks, just different teams. I won't spend too much time on some of my picks that me and Bank have dupes, but I have Kim Ward still going 1, but I don't think the Titans are trading out. They haven't made any quarterback moves that would lead me to think that they're sold at whoever they brought in at quarterback. It's not going to be Will Levis. It just won't be. Like, that ship has sailed. I really think they are starting to like get themselves in the idea of Cam Ward. And I don't think that's a terrible move if you're the Titans. Yes, he's probably not one of the better ones we've had in the last few years for quarterbacks, but you got the number 1 pick this year. You got to do something with it. So I think the Titans take him at number 1. You mentioned the Browns could potentially trade for a quarterback, like a veteran like Prescott. I really think that they're just going to stick and pick and take Shedeur at this point. He's going to be cheap for the next few years. He's going to be young. I do have concerns with like the organization in Cleveland and trying to put talent around Shedeur. Like, I think the Browns have solid players, but I don't know. I just do have some organizational concerns with the Browns and Shedeur. Number 3, I have Travis going to the Giants. It was really a coin flip between him and Abdul Carter, but the Giants have invested so much in their D-line that I think if you're able to pair Travis Hunter with Malik Neighbors, I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So for that reason, I think Hunter's going to be fitting great in the Giants. I also think he's going to be more of a full-time receiver and part-time corner than vice versa, which I think works out well for the Giants because their defense was pretty solid last year. Their just offense was horrid. So, 4th overall pick, Abdul Carter, Patriots going to take best player available. They don't have a lot of blue chip players on their roster. Abdul Carter is the blue chip player in this draft. I know he slides number 4, but I would argue he's the best player in this draft. He's really good. Like Braden said, if you watched any of this college football playoff, you would know how much he had an impact for Penn State. And for that reason, it's Abdul going to the Patriots. Me and Braden both have the same 5th pick in Mason Graham. The Jags need interior D-line, so I think Mason Graham's best available player for them. I also have the Ashton Genty pick. You kind of talked me into this pick, if that makes sense. I think Geno Smith is kind of a win-now move for the Raiders. So now if you're able to pair Geno, Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers, I don't know. It's interesting. The Raiders could be not like playoff contender, but like they could make some noise. They could be better than a lot of people think. So I have concerns of taking running backs this high, but Genty I think is one of the few exceptions we've had in the last few years. Also like a Bijan Robinson or like a Saquon Barkley or Christian McCaffrey, guys like that. But yeah, him with the Raiders which would give the Raiders another blue chip prospect to pair with Bowers. Wow. Pick 7, I had the Jets going Armand Membu. He broke out at the combine. He had an awesome day athletically. Him and Will Campbell had great days at the combine. Only reason I went Membu over Will Campbell is there's the concern about the shorter arms with Campbell, him only having 32-inch arms, which it just means he's going to guard. But I think Membu, like athletically, is just a teensy bit better. And Jets just need O-line help. If they want to give Fields any chance of succeeding, they got to protect him up front. So for that pick, it's going to be Armand Membu at 7. 8, me and you have the same 8th pick at Shamar Stewart. going to the Panthers. Panthers just need defense. Like, this could be a couple different players. It could be Shamar Stewart. It could be Jalen Walker, Mykel Williams. It could even be a corner. I know they have J.C. Horn, but I think corner could still be a need for them at number 8. But defense is this pick. You're not going to see any offense at pick 8. Pick 9, I have Ted McMillan going to the Saints. Saints just need like playmakers. Like, I don't think they're sold on another year of Derek Carr, but at this point, you either have to like do what Braden did and trade up to 1 and get your guy with Cam Ward, or you just got to surround Carr with playmakers. So Tech McMillan is probably the best receiver in this draft. I don't consider Travis Hunter that because he's a receiver corner hybrid. So I think if you're able to get a guy like that, the Saints are going to be looking pretty well. This is probably my favorite pick, is pick 10. I have Tyler Warren to the Bears. I know that Cole Kmet's there, and I get that. But how fun would it be if the Bears had Caleb, DeAndre Swift, they have all those receivers and Moore and Odunze, and then you get a guy like Tyler Warren, who not only has like catching versatility, but he was able to take snaps and like rush the ball last year and throw the ball last year for Penn State. I think that just gives you more options in that playbook. And we know all the crazy Detroit plays that Ben Johnson was doing last year. You get Tyler Warren, maybe you get some crazier plays. But yeah, that is my mock draft. You got any thoughts on mine?
Yeah, at first I saw Tyler Warren to the Bears, and I was like, what are we cooking here? Because like you said, they have Cole Kmet, but is Cole Kmet your long-term answer at tight end? I don't know. And like you said, they do. Ben Johnson does some funky stuff with the football.
He does.
So, and Tyler Warren is a funky football player.
Yeah.
So you kind of talked me into that. I don't hate it. And also, I do want to say a lot of my moves are kind of. I feel like a lot of what they're missing can be supplemented in like the later rounds, like with the Titans not going quarterback in the first round. I could see them like either going with the QB with the 33rd pick, or maybe even trading back into the first round to try to grab. Because I don't think Jackson Dart is a first round prospect. I think he is going to end up in the first round just because it's quarterback. And teams get desperate for quarterbacks.
I wouldn't be shocked, honestly, if Dart ends up top 15. Dude, there's some quarterback needy teams. Like Pittsburgh. What if Rodgers is like, no, I don't want to go to Pittsburgh? They're not going to roll off Mason Rudolph next year. They're just not.
Yeah, I mean that's possible, and in that case, the Titans I don't think would. They obviously they don't go in the first round at that point, but
right,
like I could see like a Will Howard or a Jalen Milroe or some other quarterback go at pick 33.
Yeah,
if they end up trading away the first overall pick. And then with the Raiders, there are a lot of really good receivers in the day 2, day 3. Both my Iowa State guys, Jalen Knoll, Jaden Higgins, Alec Iomanor, I believe is his name, from Stanford, have been my 3. I've been liking what I've been seeing out of those guys. But yeah, this is a very deep draft where like pick 15 to like 50
is it the same player?
There's not a lot of difference. Yeah. So you can get some really good value in that late first, early second range. And I think it's going to be really fun to see what happens in this draft.
Oh, yeah. I guess I have a question. If Shedeur doesn't go 2, let's say, I don't think he stays in the top 10.
Really?
Just go by the list. Titans, let's assume they go Cam Ward. Say the Browns don't want him. Giants might take him, might not. They just signed Russ and Jameis. Jags don't take him because they have T-Law. Raiders won't take him because they have Geno. Jets just signed Fields. That's a maybe, but I would probably lean no because they have just other needs. Panthers know they have Bryce Young. Saints, you made the argument for the Saints, which I kind of hated at first, but makes sense. Bears aren't going to take him. Like, I don't know. And he's kind of a weird fit because he's not like uber athletic. His big trait is his accuracy. He's not like
He
extreme.
is the right-handed Tua Tagovailoa
Like,
in a way, without the, you know.
I don't know. This draft is super weird. I will say Shador has the most like experience out of all these quarterbacks because I think he's 23, but he's had 4 full years of starting, so he has that working for him. And we see when these guys are like experienced coming into the NFL, like they usually work like pretty early on. Like Bo Nix last year. Bo Nix was kind of like a second round pick, kind of jumped up to number 12 with the Broncos, and then just thrived in his rookie year. So I think Shador has that going for him, but I'm super curious if he doesn't go 2 to the Browns, is someone going to trade up or are they just people are going to stand pat and just watch Shador drop? It could be in a way it could be the Alex Smith Aaron Rodgers thing in the '05 draft where everyone knew Smith was going 1 to San Fran. And if Rodgers wasn't going to get taken shortly after, Shador could have a long night. So, I don't know. Just a little thought I had when we were doing our mock drafts. I'm like, man, if he doesn't go early, maybe Pittsburgh takes him at 21.
That would be insane if he falls to 21. That would be the ultimate. That'd be like the bailout of all bailouts. If he found his way to 21.
Even after the first 10 picks, Niners are going to sign Purdy. Cowboys, they're so tied to Dak that I just don't think it's financially like he's tradable. Dolphins have Tua for long term. Colts is a super interesting one because I don't think they're completely sold on Richardson.
I don't think the Colts would draft a quarterback, though.
Not that high, but
I don't think they're. I don't. This is not the year they would draft one. Next year would be the year they draft one. I don't think they do it this year.
Which is a fair take. Atlanta, no, because they drafted Penix. Cardinals, no, they have Kyler. Cincy, no, Burrow. Seattle,
Maybe. I could see it.
if he's sitting on the board at pick 18, how much he really needs Sam Darnold. Tampa won't, Denver won't, and then Pittsburgh's at 21. So there's a lot of no's, but there's a couple maybes, but like, I don't know. It's an interesting thought that I had the other day. I'm like, if he doesn't end up going 1 or 2, how far does he fall? But yep, that's pretty much all my thoughts on that. Do you have anything else you'd like to add for this episode before we kind of wrap this one up?
No, I think I said my piece here.
Yeah. We will probably have another episode out within the next week or two. We'll have more episodes coming out closer to the draft. It's still pretty far away, so right now all of our mock drafts probably mean nothing because a lot of crazy trades are going to happen draft day. A lot of players are going to skyrocket up the board. Players are going to fall. The NFL draft, it's something. But
yeah, I think I saw this is the closest to the draft that none of the top 10 picks have been moved in since the 80s.
Another weird thing with this draft, every single team has their own first round pick.
What? Not a single pick at all? I thought it was just top 10.
No, every single team
pick at all has been
every
moved.
single team has their own pick.
Man. I feel like a lot of teams were waiting for this draft because they thought it was going to be good, and then it just feels like the last 2 or 3 years has been okay, this draft isn't incredible, but the next year it's going to be really good.
Right.
And then the next year comes around, and then it's
Yeah. Because this draft is probably one of the lower drafts we've had, maybe since 20.
It's been a while.
2016, the Jameis, or not, 2016 was the Goff and Wentz draft. 15 was Jameis and Mariota, which already feels like a super long, crazy long ago. But Jameis and Mariota, they're still getting signed. Mariota's back with Washington, and Jameis is obviously with the Giants. But that was my childhood right there. Was the Jameis, Mariota, and the CFP round 1 in the Rose Bowl. But yeah, kind of to wrap up this episode, recapping NFL free agency and some of the moves that have been made, and me and Braden give our mock draft 2.0 here on March 26th as we're recording. This will be posted first. It'll be posted tomorrow. Make sure to watch the Hardwood Convos episode that is coming out shortly after, later in the day on Thursday. But yeah, for Braden Bankin, I'm Dawson Livingston signing off.